Here's Untold History of the United States, Part 6, Oliver Stone's 6-part documentary series. He ends it with the Kennedy era, so from Kennedy's presidency into his assassination, and that's where he ends his Untold History. Of course, Oliver Stone telling this documentary, you can't help but in the back of your mind know this is the man who made kind of a brilliant film too. Forget about the propaganda, but just from a cinematic standpoint, and JFK is a very well made movie. Keeps you in different directions, and basically he kind of tells a good thesis about how the assassination took place. So Oliver Stone kind of tells a story about what happened in Kennedy's kind of presidency, and how he was a very liberal guy, and what he's basically saying, what his thesis statement, and the whole circle of the Untold History, to finish it off, is that he starts with Wallace, who's a vice president for FDR, very liberal, left-wing kind of guy, and basically he had so many enemies, and they took him down politically. And basically he ends his documentary basically saying that Kennedy had the same enemies as Wallace did, and he was getting to have the same ideologies as Wallace did, and basically they took him down. Well, they killed him. Basically, that's what Oliver Stone's saying. But even though he doesn't know who killed him. It could have been the mafia, it could have been the CIA, it could have been the right-wing contingent, it could have been Russia, it could have been Cuba. Who knows what it is, right? But all he's trying to say is that he had so many enemies, and basically he was a very popular president. He was going to get the second nomination, and he needed to go because he didn't want to go to Vietnam. He was trying to get out of Vietnam, and even the whole thing with the Bay of Pigs. Him taking the fall for it, even though he blamed his military people, would set up the whole conflict with the Cuban Missile Crisis, which has been documented to death, so I won't bore anybody with it. But basically what they're saying is that Kennedy's military machine was mad at Kennedy for how he handled the whole thing with because I think they wanted to go to war, and how Kennedy is like at the last second about him, and basically it's a documentary about him and Khrushchev basically not doing what their military allies, what their military people wanted them to do. They wanted them to fight, and they basically wanted them to bomb Cuba. And in the end of it, they were so angry that they didn't bomb Cuba, that they didn't go to war with Cuba, because they wanted Cuba to go away. And even people now and today will basically say that that was a time to take care of Cuba, which is still hanging on the American public 50 years later. But we got some good baseball players out of it, and we probably wouldn't have got those baseball players if Oliver Stone, Freudian slip there, if JFK bombed Cuba back in the day. So for that, we got a lot from an American perspective. So basically what he's saying is that, like, because he screwed up the Bay of Pigs, JFK just basically went rogue on his secretary team, and basically said, I'm going to do whatever, I'm going to do what I want to do. And basically they were trying to like get him to be more forceful in Vietnam, and he didn't want to. He basically was trying to hold back. But of course, when Lyndon Johnson came in after Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson was very forceful into the Vietnam War, and it was all about the American ideology. The Russians and the North Vietnamese, they basically wanted to they had a communist thing, and they invaded South Vietnamese, and they wanted the Americans to be a part of this conflict because it was an ideology thing. Of course, I'm just basically being very basic when I'm saying that. So that's what Oliver Stone's saying. He's saying basically Wallace and Kennedy are heroes, and basically bad people brought them down. That's what his 6-part documentary is all about. That's my review.